Here we go. It's time for another sprint zone. And this one is for 10/31/2023. Pretty lively crew, but small. And it's a rather cold day. It was in the upper 30s. And I had actually thought that I wouldn't come out for this one because it was just too cold. But I saw some messages on the Facebook group that people were planning on attending. So I figured, I might be getting soft in my advanced years, and it was time to come out and play. Everybody here is bundled up, and it's definitely more difficult to recognize people when they're not in their normal kit, but I will do my best here. Looking forward, looks like we got Steve and looks like Marcelo there. And this is a section of the road where there's lots of potholes, so people get a little bit disorganized, but that's okay. And it is time to relax and recover before the sprint zone. Looking at my power, my 30-second power, 100 watts, 90 watts, that's nothing as we cruise in here. There's the big man in yellow, Byron B-Train, Besserell coming back, joining us there. And people are making the signal that it is time to make the right-hand turn. I'd like to take the time now to thank Mr. Scott for providing his telemetry and his video. We'll need it because I wasn't there. Regardless, it is time to get the show on the road. Looking rearward, and there's a little bit of, I don't want to call it lethargy, but people are not really, all that concerned about being tight. And of course, the rules of engagement state that the contest, of course, may not begin until everyone is around the corner. Although I see people kind of pushing it because I don't think they're as cognizant as they should be of like where the group is. I think they're really more concerned about themselves and perhaps they've forgotten about the rules of engagement. But there we go. We take a look at the big man here, Byron, and it looks like he is heading to the front to stir up a little bit of trouble. And I remember thinking, I just done Swift the night before. I'm a little tired. Hadn't even thought about coming out. And maybe people would have the same lethargy. And the normal speech that I made about not really wanting to go for it, people were like, we're here. I think we want to go for it. Anyway, looking at my 30-second power, 230 watts, instantaneous power in the 250s, it is indeed go time as the big man, Byron, goes to the front. And it looks like Scott's camera shows how nice it is up there. And you can see that yellow just peeking out. I'm back here kind of yo-yoing here as the accelerations are wicked. And this is part of that accordion effect that if you are caught back, it is just awful. I would appreciate if people didn't close these gaps so quickly, but if you are racing, that is maybe what you want to do. Snap the legs of those who would be sitting in and allow them to at least experience some of the pain that you're going to experience because they are normally just coattail sitters. Working hard here, trying to catch up, even still, and it looks like it is Grupo Compacto with the big man up at the front. Switch over to Scott's camera for a little bit, and this is where my camera switches segments. So we will actually don't want to lose what was going on there, but we can see lots of action up at the front as people begin to rotate. Looks like Carrie up at the front there, pointing out something, and now we're back to our regularly scheduled view. Everyone seems to This time, Byron may have asked people to come around there, and it looks like, yep, he's looking like he might want to go back and bring some people up, but he's not on his race machine, and he knows the strength of people up front, and he's like, okay, people, you've had your chance. And I think that might be John way back there, one of the normal, like, tail sitters, must have been sleeping, didn't have his Wheaties, and it looks like even Byron has a limit to his patience. Carrie coming off the front, well done here. And looking at my power, for some reason, my power meter has gone out again. I don't know if there's something in the road here. I don't know if it's some sort of alien tech. But it seems like for the last couple of rides that has happened for this video. But I don't look at power when I'm riding, so I don't notice it until now. Looking rearward, Byron looking strong, and it looks like Carrie has tacked onto the rear. Looks like Scott coming off the front, sliding back there after doing his turn at the front. And it looks like yes, Carrie might be swinging or just being nice. B Train, has had enough of this pedestrian pace, even though the speed is 25 miles an hour or 24, going to the front up that little grade and slots in up front nicely, asking people to hang on if they can. Grabbing onto the cape, it looks like everyone is still in tow, and they're probably pleased that they're not doing the work, but not so pleased that they have to try to hang on to Byron's wheel. And even though I don't have my power, looking at Scott's power, 400 and over 400 watts for instantaneous, 330 watts and rising for 30 seconds, 360, 370 for 30 seconds. This is a serious attempt there. And you can see me in the upper right struggling there with the antenna on my head, body looking contorted as I try to maintain contact with those who are in front of me. Kind of a bummer that I don't have power here. I may have to download my power from not my Garmin watch, but maybe my Garmin head unit. I got to figure out which one where the power is dropping, and hopefully next week we won't have this issue. Looks like we're settling in here, and the pace is slowed to maybe 23, 22 as people are beginning to try and recover. And it looks like I am beginning to swing back here because I know what is coming up. This little grade is always a challenge. It doesn't look like much, but if the strong men are up front and they crack the whip, the reverberations through the pace line are brutal. And as everybody knows, when you crack the whip, the reason it makes that sound is because the tip of that whip is going over the speed of sound. And here we go. And looking at Scott's power, throwing it down 300 watts, just trying to stay in contention. Doesn't look horrible, as it looks like Byron's kind of sitting up, but he looks back and it's like, where are you? Scott, oh, there we go, 600 watts as he decides to come back because it looks like people are letting a gap open up here. And you can see what is going on here. And it looks like Danny going to make the last bit of the train to run down the group up ahead. And it looks like, and I'm not certain if either Scott didn't have the power to go around Steve or that little blast coming from the back because of the crack of the whip was unable to burn any more matches. Or could have been a tactical decision. I mean, normally, sitting behind Steve, it is a guaranteed bet that he will be able to drag even the mighty Byron back for such a short distance. But I suspect, and I believe he said it after the ride, he just didn't have the goods. And this is where Scott didn't actually figure out that Steve was not going to be able to close the gap as I was watching slowly but surely that gap widening. And this is when sometimes you got to throw your chips down. You can't wait to follow coattails all the time because it is much better to go for it. And there was the wiggle of the elbow, but I'm not coming around at over 24 miles an hour. You got to slow down a little bit because I am pretty much gassed. And my power is finally back. Looks like 32nd over 200. Yeah, I'm working. It's above my FTP. And with the extra clothing, creating extra drag, and with the extra air density when it's colder, it's going to be a tough road to try to bring those people back. But they're not that far up the road. And if I had a little bit of more oomph in the tank, if I had not ridden pretty hard Zwift the night before, and here's this little grade. So I was kind of like soft pedaling at the front because I knew this was going to happen. And there we go, over 500 watts for me just to try to stay in contention. And it worked out that I had enough in reserve to be able to hang on here, but it was not easy. I'm not certain I'm actually buying my heart rate. Yeah, I'm a 48. It's got to be higher than that. I'll be guessing like maybe 20 beats higher, but it is definitely game on. And we can see the carrot dangling up the road as it looks like B-Train is probably trying to encourage those wheel suckers to come through. Give him a little bit of a break so he can maintain the gap. But with strong men back here, it is possible for us to make the catch. I am hurting back here now, and my legs were kind of screaming, probably because I rode a little harder last night than I should have, but it is what it is, and there's no money on the line, and I'm having fun, and I'm getting stronger. Scott coming off the front, it looks like, or is that Marcelo? Nope, Scott going to the front, Marcelo coming off, and here is go time, and I'm trying to hang on when Scott accelerated, figuring he was going to pull people, but I was up to 400 watts for a second, and when I realized I couldn't do it, it was game over. So I backed off, and we switched to Scott Cam, and we see Scott is able to pull these people back at over 400 watts as he makes the connection. Well done on the bridge there. And here we go. As soon as they catch, they were playing cat and mouse, teasing Scott, letting him think that he had got himself some victory, but to snatch it from the jaws of what he thought was victory. There goes Steve, and Scott is giving up the ghost, as did I. Well done, everybody. That was a good one. I maybe should have put the temperature on the screen because it was a pretty cold day. And when you don't have the aerodynamics that you had on a warm day, just a little bit of extra drag, 15, 20 watts easily bled off if you have, an extra surface area. I'll make a guess now of up to maybe 4 square inches because of the increased clothing area. Big difference. Anyway, a good time was had by all. Maybe we'll just fast forward on this one. Yeah, not much exciting here as we make the turnaround. That was a good one. Fun times, guys. And until next time, peace out.